Hi everyone. Today I thought I'd talk a little about confidence and the lack thereof. This is a major problem for a lot of people, and certainly a lot of people involved in writing or art of most kinds. It's such a tricky thing to believe in yourself enough to create or to take risks on your art that many of us never do, and I in fact am a victim of this, or have been in the past. So let's talk a little about doubting yourself and then overcoming that doubt. I should start by saying that I wanted to write a novel from the time I was like 30, 28. I always thought I would because of my background, because of the jobs I'd had and the weird things I'd experienced. You know, I was a reporter, I worked in these crazy cities, I worked in New Orleans, in Savannah, in Baton Rouge. I covered wild crimes. I met amazing politicians and famous people. Kiefer Sutherland, the actor, once told me to believe in myself when I was like 22 and wearing a terrible dress. But I never wrote a book. And the first time I tried was easily a decade before night school. And I wrote 8 chapters. They were 8 okay chapters, but with no coherence to them, no real focus, and no destination. And I know now that that was what was wrong with them. But at the time I just thought, I can't do this, I can't do this. I can write a bit, but not this. And I didn't even look at them again for like 7 years. I didn't even think about it. I just threw them away and decided this was the ultimate doubt. This was I can't do this. I didn't doubt, I knew emphatically this was not something I could do. And I went on with the rest of my life, took other jobs, put it out of my mind. But at the same time, when I was doing these different jobs, because it's hard to make a lot of living as a journalist now, and I'd taken a job working for the government for the money and the steady pay and the interesting setting, because it was right in the middle of British politics, right at the very, very heart of it. And I wanted to experience that. But for what, right? I remember having that feeling after a couple of years, I've done this so I can have these experiences, but what am I going to do with them if I can't write books? And I don't know how to make films. I can't sing. What am I going to do with this side of me that wants to express creativity? So when I sat down to write Night School, the only way I could do it was to have no preconception that anything would ever happen with it, that no idea that it would be any better than that first attempt, with any more potential or possibility of success. And I would just do it for me, just for my own fun. And doing it that way, anticipating failure and not caring, that was the big thing. It was just for fun. If it's just for fun, it doesn't matter if you don't get an agent. It doesn't matter if nobody ever reads it. It's for yourself. It's for your own expression of what's in your mind and your heart. That took this huge weight off of my shoulders and off of my subconscious. I think the first time I was writing hoping to become a novelist. The second time I was writing solely to fill my time. So I would write on trains, and I would write in coffee shops, and I would write on my lunch break, because work had become very boring by that stage. It was just a very dull time. It had been exciting, and then it got dull for a while. And while it was dull, it didn't use much of my creativity. The most of my creativity was used up trying to look busy so that nobody would take me away from the steady money, which I'd come to love. It was the first time in my life I ever had a steady income. I'd always been a journalist, and that's not money. That is not, you could barely pay the rent on that. So my advice on self-doubt, which I still hear, now that I am a novelist, now that I've done it, you would think there'd be no more doubt. So I wrote that book that I didn't expect anybody to ever read. I sold that book to publishers all over the world. It wasn't a waste of my time. I could be a novelist. And I've since I'm writing my 13th book now. Not that several haven't come out yet. I've done that. And I still hear that voice in my head when I sit down to write, this one won't work. This one you won't be able to do. This one is not going to be any good. Nobody will want it. And also, when things do happen where nobody does want something, or where people that you think will want something don't. So number 10 has sold in a lot of countries, but it hasn't sold in all of them. It hasn't sold in some countries like Poland, where Night School was hugely popular. And publishers can be absolutely vicious in their rejections. Like, oh, nobody reads books like this anymore. Literally, my Polish publisher who loved Night School has told me that. Your stuff, that's old hat. Nobody wants that anymore. I've been told that multiple times actually by publishers. And that just gets in your head. And you think, what am I going to do? Why am I wasting my time on this? Am I wasting my time on this? Have I still got it? Am I just done in this business? Like, you can hear the doubt. And it doesn't matter whether you're writing books or you're in some other industry. You will be told no so much. I've been told no all my life. And there is this thing that you have to think that I do and you must do that works, which is remembering when you've been told no before and it was nonsense. Like, you were told no and you overcame it. You were told no and you did it anyway and it worked out. It's amazing how often that happens. And we all hear the voice in our head. I hear that Polish publisher in my head all the time. Nobody wants this. And I take that voice and I set it on fire in my mind, not in real life. I don't know how you would do that, but you know what I mean. Like, you've got to explode it because people do want what you're doing. People will like what you want to do. And the only way to ever achieve anything is to take chances. Hemingway wrote his first novel while working as a part-time journalist and driving ambulances in Spain, like during a war. You find a way to create when everybody says you can't, because everybody gets told no. This is the thing I've learned. Unless you're super rich and super connected, if you're Phoebe Waller-Bridge, everyone's going to say yes to you. Awesome. Bully for you. But everybody else, I don't trust anybody who hasn't been told no. I don't trust anybody who hasn't been fired. I don't trust anybody who doesn't doubt themselves. Doubt is like, it's a test for you. It's a test for you to overcome it and to do it even better. To write better, to draw better, to act better, to make better music, just so that someday you can look back at them and go, by the way, I was fine. By the way, like when I wrote Night School, here's the story. When I wrote Night School, I had two friends in the world who'd ever written books. Neither of them in my genre, but they'd both written like literary books, and they were like that kind of literary writing things. And they were nice people. And I went to one of them and said, I've written this book. It's young adult. I don't know anything about like how to get an agent. Do you know anybody who could help me? And she said, oh, I have a friend who writes children's books. I'll talk to her. And she disappeared for a while. And when she came back, she said, oof, she's not very good news, I'm afraid. And she sent me a few paragraphs from the email her friend had sent her. And what her friend said was, tell her not to bother. Nobody's buying children's books. Nobody cares about children's books. It's a complete waste of time. I'm sorry she wasted her time writing this book, but nobody will ever buy it. That was a writer's advice to an aspiring writer. It still makes me so angry. I become apoplectic thinking about it. And I just thought, bollocks. Because I just read Twilight and I'd read The Hunger Games and people were buying books. They weren't buying her books, but they were buying books. And people are buying books now, and the Polish publisher is wrong. And sometimes people are just wrong, and you have to write better, create better, ignore them, and keep believing in going forward. If I'd listened to that woman, there would be no Night School. There would be no Secret Fire. There would be no Echo Killing. I would still be working in a government office in central London. We would never have met. This channel wouldn't exist. All the things, if you unspool, all the things that wouldn't have happened if I'd listened to her and just given up. So, doubt. Doubt comes from other voices. Doubt comes from outside and then gets inside you and it infests you. And the most important thing you can do is to tell it to go to hell. Right, so that got more emotional and angry than I expected, but I hope it helped. The key always for all of you and for me, everybody right now who wants to create art, is to create art. And everything else is just noise. Let the noise wash over you. Set your doubts on fire and sit back down at your keyboard, at your computer, at your guitar, at your painting supplies. Sit back down at your easel in front of your sculpture and create. Never have we needed people to create more than we do right now, and people will always try to tear you down, and they will always tell you you can't. You can. You can. Nobody can stop you but you. So go, make, do. Set your doubts on fire. Ignore the noise. See you soon.